Hi guys, welcome to another Business Tube podcast, and today's session we are going to be looking at economies of scale. First of all guys, I've got the definition for you on the board for what economies of scale actually is. So economies of scale, as an organisation gets larger, its average costs per unit decrease, they go down. Basically, they can make each individual product for less, for cheaper. So if you think about it, and I'll go over this in more detail for you, Coca-Cola, as they've got bigger, they can make one can of Coca-Cola for less, for cheaper. They could certainly make one can of Coca-Cola for less than I could make one can of Coca-Cola. Okay? So as organisations get larger, their average costs, or their average cost per unit, go down. Now let's have a little look at this. I've got here the average costs per unit, and across the bottom is the size of the business. So the more we go across here, the bigger the business gets, and up here, the higher up here we go, the average costs are increasing, are higher. Okay? By average cost, guys, I just mean take the total cost of the business and divide it by the number of units or the number of products that the business is making, and that gives the average cost per one product, and that's what we're talking about. How much does it cost you to make each individual product? Okay? So as the organisation gets bigger, as we can see on here, the average costs per product to make each one individual product goes down. Until we get to this point here, which is diseconomies of scale, which I will go over with you towards the end. And when the business gets too big, the average cost per unit go back up. So here, the business is becoming more efficient, average costs are going down, they're getting bigger and bigger, the size of the business is going up. So they can make each one product, remember the average cost per unit, for less. Until we get here, diseconomies of scale, the business has just got too big now. Remember, this is the size of the business. The business is now too big, and its average costs go back up. So the business is becoming less efficient or inefficient here. You do need to know about the reasons why this happens and the reasons why this happens. So you need to be able to identify and explain some reasons why economies of scale happens and some reasons why diseconomies of scale happens. Okay, that brings us to this slide here, which I'll quickly go over with you, and then we'll go over each one in a little bit more detail in turn. I'd prefer to call this purchasing economies rather than trading economies. So you have purchasing economies, which is bulk buying, financial economies, which is lower interest rates, managerial economies, which is specialist managers, and technical economies, which is specialist machines. Now I'm going to go over why each one of these different economies of scale actually causes average cost per unit to go down. If you get asked the question, identify two economies of scale, the ones that I would choose purchasing economies, which is bulk buying, and the other one I would choose is technical economies, which is specialist machines, specialist equipment, because these are more efficient. Okay. So, purchasing economies, large businesses are likely to get discounts when buying raw materials than smaller firms. So this is known as bulk buying. Because the business has got much bigger, they're ordering much more raw materials. If you think about Coca-Cola, they're buying much more sugar, so they can buy the sugar for much cheaper than you or I. Okay, so they're getting discounts when bulk buying, and this reduces their costs. So purchasing economies allows the business's average cost per unit, their average cost, to go down. Okay, which is an economy of scale. Financial economies, if you feel okay with this one, I think this one's a little bit trickier to explain, but larger firms, larger businesses, okay, find it cheaper and easier to raise money, to raise finance from a bank, and the reason for that is because it's less risky for the bank to lend money to them. If you think about Coca-Cola, a bank would lend money to Coca-Cola much cheaper than they would lend money to you or I. Okay? The reason for that is because Coca-Cola is a big business, the bank knows they're going to get their money back. And because they're less risky, they'll lend to them with a cheaper interest rate. Okay? So the bank will lend at a lower interest rate, which reduces the business's costs. This is all about economies of scale. It's all about getting the cost, the average cost per unit, to go down. Managerial economies, so larger businesses can afford specialist managers. So, for example, they can afford marketing experts, resource managers, accountants, and these people, because they're specialists, because they have skills for their particular functional area, their particular department, such as marketing or human resources, they're much more efficient, and again, if you're more efficient, that will cause average costs to go down. Technical economies, which is the one that I would pick if I had to explain this. Larger firms can buy specialist machinery, big, large specialist machines, and large machines and new machines make less mistakes, therefore they're more efficient. So for example, if you think about flow production, large businesses can use flow production, and that is much more efficient using machines. Right, if you think to diseconomies of scale, remember with diseconomies of scale, average costs are going up because the business is becoming less efficient, so average costs are starting to increase. Now the reasons why diseconomies of scale occur, so very large businesses may become less efficient than smaller ones, leading to an increase this time in average costs per unit. Now the reasons why average costs per unit go up is because larger businesses have problems with communication. If you think about a huge business, it's massive, it's hard for managers to communicate with everybody. And because we have communication problems, it becomes slower, mistakes start to happen, and that then causes average costs to go back up again. It becomes difficult to manage because we've got so many departments, so many workers, people, it's just hard to manage, mistakes happen, errors, etc. Between different branches, countries, factories, and that causes, again, average costs to start to go back up, and this is diseconomies of scale. Morale can start to go down, staff start to feel demotivated, the business is so big, they don't feel important. I think the analogy I use with you guys in class is, it's like being a small cog in a large machine. You just feel like you're not contributing, so motivation goes down, staff become less efficient, staff start to make mistakes, and average costs start to go back up again. Okay, so that's a really important section, guys, on economies and diseconomies of scale. Make sure you familiarise yourself with what economies and diseconomies of scale actually means, so the definition and the different types of economies and diseconomies of scale. It comes up time and time and time again on your exam. Okay, hope you found that useful, guys. See you next time.